Imagine that you are in the heart of an arid desert. The air is so dry that it hurts your throat with every breath, and the horizon wobbles under the effect of scorching heat. There are no rivers, no oases, and clouds are just a distant memory. For most modern people, this would be a scenario of certain death within a few hours. However, for the ancient inhabitants of the steppes of Central Asia and the deserts of North Africa, this environment was a source of water abundance. They did not wait for rain, and they did not depend on deep artesian wells powered by electric pumps. They knew something that we, in our technological arrogance of 2026, have chosen to forget. The air, even in the driest of deserts, is an invisible reservoir of drinking water. In this deep guide, I'm going to reveal the lost manual of hydration, the secret of the clay pots, and the science of air wells. Get ready to discover how it is possible to manufacture liters of pure water every day using only the geometry of ceramics and the thermal laws of nature. If you have ever worried about water scarcity or dependence on public supply systems that can fail at any moment, what you are going to learn today is your ultimate insurance policy. We are going to transform the desert into a fountain and waste into a survival tool. The science behind this is what we call passive radiative condensation. To understand why burying empty clay pots can produce water, we must first unlearn the definition of dry air. There is no such thing as totally dry air on Earth. Even in the Sahara, the air contains a percentage of humidity in the form of water vapor. The problem is that this vapor is invisible and in a state of high energy. To transform it into liquid, we only need one thing: a temperature differential. We need to create an artificial dew point. The ancients did this using the porosity and thermal inertia of fired clay, a material that today costs just a few cents, but possesses physical properties that surpass many modern synthetic materials. Why clay? Terracotta ceramic is the perfect material for the alchemy of water for three fundamental reasons. First, porosity. Clay is not a solid block. It is a microscopic labyrinth of pores that allow the material to breathe. Second, evapotranspiration. When clay is slightly damp, it cools itself, acting as a natural refrigerator. Third, thermal emissivity. Clay is excellent at radiating heat into space during the night, becoming much colder than the air around it. When the warm, moist night air comes into contact with this earth-cooled ceramic surface, the miracle happens. The vapor loses energy, condenses, and transforms into drops of liquid water that run down to the bottom of the pot. The engineering of this system is brilliant in its simplicity, but requires geometric precision. The most efficient model we have rescued from archaeological excavations and 2026 survival manuals is the overlapping clay pot air well. Imagine two clay pots of different sizes. The smaller pot is placed inside the larger pot. The space between the two is filled with fine sand or volcanic gravel. This design creates thermal insulation that allows the interior of the smaller pot to remain cold for much longer. By burying this structure partially in the ground, you are using the Earth's thermal inertia to protect your condenser from the sun's heat during the day, while allowing it to drink the night's moisture. Many wonder why large sanitation corporations do not promote these simple solutions. The answer, once again, lies in control. It is impossible to put a water meter on a clay pot that you buried in your own backyard. There is no way to tax the air that you passively condense. In a world where water is becoming the new gold commodity, possessing the technical capacity to extract your own hydration directly from the atmosphere is an act of rebellion and independence. The ancient Egyptians and the Greeks of Crimea used air wells made of piles of limestone rocks and ceramics to supply entire cities. They built condensation towers that captured the sea breeze and transformed it into internal rivers. We have simply simplified this scale so that anyone with a backyard or even a balcony can replicate it. To build your own clay atmospheric condenser, you must pay attention to the installation site. The system works best in areas where there is a large thermal amplitude between day and night. In the desert, this variation is extreme. But even in temperate climates, a difference of 10 or 15 degrees is enough to start the process. The pot should be buried so that only the neck or top opening is exposed. This opening must be protected by a shading structure that allows airflow but prevents direct sunlight from entering. If the sun heats the interior of the pot, the condensation process will be interrupted. It is a game of shadows and air currents. The design of the neck is where the magic happens. To maximize capture, we use what we call the breeze capture funnel. By placing an inverted cone-shaped lid over the pot, you force the air down into the deep underground cold zone. As the air descends through the funnel and comes into contact with the clay walls cooled by the deep soil, it reaches the saturation point. Drops begin to form like ceramic tears. In a single night, under ideal conditions, a system of 3 interconnected pots can produce 2 to 5 liters of drinking water. Water that is, by definition, naturally distilled, free of chlorine, fluoride, and microplastics that infest modern supply networks. However, distilled water from condensation is so pure that it lacks essential minerals for the human body in the long term. The ancients knew this. At the bottom of the collection pot, they placed small stones of limestone, marble, or quartz. As the water drips over these stones, it absorbs fundamental minerals, becoming mineralized, living, and structured water. It is the opposite of dead water that passes through miles of metal and plastic pipes under high pressure. You are creating a system that not only provides hydration, but provides health in its most ancestral form. Regarding maintenance, the clay air well is almost self-sustaining. The main enemy is the accumulation of dust or sand at the bottom of the collection pot. Once a month, the pot should be inspected and cleaned. Because clay is porous, it also acts as a biological filter. If you notice that the internal walls of the pot are becoming dark, simply perform a wash with a solution of water and salt or vinegar and let it dry in strong sunlight for a day. The UV sun will sterilize the pores of the clay, leaving it ready for another month of water production. It is a cleaning cycle that respects the biology of the material. In 2026, we are seeing the resurgence of this technology in avant-garde communities living off the grid. They don't just use one pot, but condensation fields. These are hundreds of pots buried in geometric patterns that follow the prevailing wind currents. These fields are capable of sustaining small crops and providing water for human consumption without spending a single watt of energy. It is what we call atmospheric agriculture. Imagine a garden that self-irrigates, because the soil under it is filled with clay condensers that keep the roots moist through moisture captured from the nightly air. This eliminates the need for hoses, pumps, and waste. The physics of clay also allows us to create what the Persians called a yakchal, or ice pit. Using the same principle as the air well, they were able to produce and store ice in the middle of the desert. They created conical clay structures with extremely thick walls that insulated the cold of the night. Through an air intake channel connected to a moist underground well, the air cooled by evaporation and nightly radiation until it reached temperatures below freezing. If they could make ice 2,000 years ago with mud and straw, why do we believe we need a complex and noisy refrigerator to keep our food fresh? The answer is that we have been conditioned to believe that simplicity is synonymous with poverty, when in fact, simplicity is the pinnacle of technical sophistication. Many skeptics argue that production is too small for a modern family. But consider this: how much do you spend per month on bottled water or on service fees for a network that delivers water of doubtful quality? If you install a clay pot system, you will have an uninterrupted source. If you have 10 units, you will have 50 liters per day. This is more than necessary for the basic survival of an average family, even in a situation of total collapse of the urban infrastructure. It is a matter of scale and resilience. In 2026, resilience is not a hobby, it is life insurance. Beyond the practical aspect, there is a deep beauty in the clay air well. It is a system that does not harm the environment. It does not extract water from aquifers, which are drying up worldwide. It does not produce chemical waste and does not use disposable plastics. It simply takes what the air offers and returns it in liquid form. It is a cycle of mutual generosity between man and the atmosphere. When you bury a clay pot, you are making a promise of coexistence. You are telling the planet that you understand its rules and that you are willing to play by them instead of trying to bend them by force. The implementation of this project in your backyard can start today. You don't need building permits or expensive engineers. You need unglazed terracotta pots. This is very important, as glazed pots lose porosity and the ability to breathe, and a bit of sweat to excavate the correct depth. By placing the first pot in the ground, you will feel an immediate connection with the engineers of Petra, with the Nabatean farmers, and with the builders of civilizations that thrived where no one else saw life. You become part of a lineage of water protectors. Imagine the scenario of a campsite or a country house without access to wells. Instead of carrying heavy jugs, you install your clay pot system. At night, while you sleep, physics works for you. The cool, early morning air enters the funnel, descends into the cold womb of the earth, and the silence is only broken by the rhythmic sound of drops falling into the bottom of the ceramic. Plock, plock, plock. It is the sound of independence. It is the sound of life being manufactured from the invisible. Knowledge about air wells was actively suppressed during the Industrial Revolution to make way for large, centralized infrastructures. They wanted you to depend on the pipe that comes from the street, so they could control your life flow. But in 2026, the pipe is cracking, the dams are low, the centralized system is showing its inherent fragility. Taking back control over your water is the first and most important step toward real self-sufficiency. Without energy, you survive. Without internet, you survive. Without water from the air, you are at the mercy of whoever turns off the central tap. In this video, we have only scratched the surface of this technology. There are variations that use layers of activated charcoal for chemical filtration and designs that integrate the air well with the base of a spiral garden to create a closed loop of nutrition and hydration. The secret is in observation. Observe where the dew accumulates first in your backyard in the morning. Observe which stones stay cold for the longest time. That is where your air well should be installed. Nature is constantly giving us the coordinates of where resources are hidden. We just need to learn to read the map again. The clay air well is not just a survival tool, it is a lesson in humility and patience. It teaches us that abundance does not come from speed or violent extraction, but from alignment with the invisible cycles that surround us. Every drop of water collected at the bottom of that pot is proof that human intelligence, when allied with nature, is capable of miracles without leaving scars on the earth. You are not just a consumer of resources, you become a facilitator of natural processes. If you want the illustrated step-by-step, with air pressure diagrams and the most efficient pot models for each type of climate, from humid tropical to semi-arid, I have prepared a complete material for our community. The Air Well Manual is the result of years of practical testing and historical research. It is the knowledge that will ensure your family never goes thirsty, no matter how severe the climate becomes. In our next video, we are going to take a step forward in the scale of self-sufficiency. I'm going to reveal the secret of the compost volcano. I am going to show you how it is possible to generate intense heat for hot baths and home heating, as well as cooking gas, using only the organic waste that you would throw in the trash. We are going to transform decomposition into a thermal power plant that works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You are going to discover that waste does not exist. What exists is energy waiting to be released. The earth gives us the cold for the summer, the air gives us the water for our thirst, and the waste will give us the fire for the winter. The path to total freedom is drawn in the geography of your own backyard. Are you ready to start digging? The manual is in your hands. Until the next lesson in natural engineering.